T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Launch Sequence Podcast, episode 55. And today I've got two guests again, one of those great episodes. Two guests that I actually got to meet up with earlier this week myself on their own show. The Yacht Club is with me though today, Jorunn and Stim Citizen. How are you both doing?
Good to be here. Doing fantastic.
Yeah, really good. Sunny day, another day, more opportunity to
very sunny day.
kick some butt and, have fun.
Yeah, I love it. I love to hear it. We're getting triple digits down here. It is. I've already got a fan on. It's like still morning. It's hot. I don't know how it is where you are.
Miserable. It's a bit warm. I'm in South Florida and I've already been out to a job site because I'm out East Coast. Went out to a job site, came back, was not too bad.
I remember doing job sites in Florida. I used to work out there as a sales engineer, and I remember doing runs out to the job sites at 7 a.m. and being like, is it noon? It's way too hot.
Hot and humid first thing, for sure.
Oh, man. All right. Well, thank you guys both for being on the show today. Really, I appreciate it. The Yacht Club is a group really heavily focused on community, a big part of the community, and also encourages a lot of community growth. That's why they had me on the show earlier, and they have people on their show every week. So today I really wanted to focus on that. Look at how the Star Citizen community has been changing, because I think everybody has seen over the last year that this game is growing, except for that one person in my YouTube comments section who keeps telling me the game's dead, it's a scam, nobody's playing it, and my mom should be disappointed. Besides them, everybody,
we all know that guy.
90 days tops. Still,
yes, exactly.
6 years later.
I think besides those people, a lot of us have noticed that this game has been growing, and there's a lot that happens in a game when it grows at this rate that you just don't notice in the short term. So wanted to bring these two in because they have noticed and they've got a lot to say, and also talk about some of the big events that we do in the Star Citizen community like Bar Citizen. So before we jump into that, as always, we're going to hear from the guests how you guys got here, how you got into Star Citizen, and what took you to the point where you're now running this huge community. Feel free to, whoever wants to go first.
Stim, you want to go first?
I think my story kind of stems off of yours. So why don't you give it a go?
Well, so I started back in 2015, September. I didn't have any idea who Chris Roberts was. I did play Wing Commander, but I didn't know there was any connection. I've never played MMOs before. I'm a Second Lifer since 2007. Played a lot of different computer games. I was playing MechWarrior Online. Was really kind of the only game that I played with other people, and I didn't know any of them. I just kind of dropped in and had a match here and there. Mostly had been playing single player RPG. Top-down isometric like Baldur's Gate and that sort of stuff. That's my gaming background. And I was watching YouTube videos on MechWarrior Online, and then I started to get these spaceship feeds, and like, that looks pretty cool. And I looked into it a little bit more. It's like, oh, I want to go fly spaceships. And I got an Aurora, and that was right when 2.0 came out. So we
Perfect
had no
timing.
planets. Yeah, I didn't have to experience that long pre 2.0
Running around
wait.
the hangars, yeah.
Yeah, the hangar module was the most exciting thing, and then Arena Commander was the most exciting thing. And I had an Aurora, I had space stations, I was flying around, I was doing the Covalix mission over and over, the Big Benny's challenge. Tessa did Tessa many times. And after a couple of months, it was just coming up on the anniversary sale, and I rented a 350R in Arena Commander, and like, man, this ship is amazing. Never thought about spending a lot of money on something in a game, and then that went on sale at the anniversary sale. It's like, oh, I love that ship so much. It's so beautiful. It feels so great to fly. And I put my credit card over the limit to buy that $125 spaceship.
Was that the most you've ever spent on something in a game, you think?
Yeah, well, at 81 time, but like in Second Life, I've rented land. I've paid to have land since 2007, and so
Okay,
you're paying $10-20 or whatever every month for years.
I see,
and you
yeah.
don't really think about small, microtransactions, buying a shirt or a suit or some furniture for your house. Like it's 50 cents here, a dollar there. It kind of adds up. And I probably spent thousands of dollars on Second Life over the years.
Yeah.
But all in like little bits, like $125. That was a lot. But
Right.
man, I love that ship, and I just flew the heck out of it in Arena Commander and in the PU, and didn't really know anybody in the verse. Had know about any of the communities, and I started watching Not So Sober Saturdays with Gray Headed Gamer on YouTube. And
Remember
it's like,
Gray Headed?
yeah, it was such a great show. And he was kind of the first community guy, because he would have those hangouts and he'd be on there. He'd have somebody from the community on, some content creator or somebody who did different things every Saturday night. And they'd be drinking, hanging out, chatting with the community. And it's like, man, this is so1cool. I love these people. And then I realized, like, oh, they have something called Discord, I found Twitch, because I'd never seen Twitch before, and like, this is how old and out of touch I am.
Oh, you found Twitch
years
before I
ago.
did.
Yeah, so started watching them live, and then I got in their Discord and got to know the community, and it's like, and these are really cool people. These are nerds like me. I've never really known that sort of thing. And the summer of 2017 or 2016. They had the Gamescom in Germany, where they sent DJ Knight, Twerk17, I think Captain Richard, I think were the 3 streamers that they flew out to Germany for Gamescom, and they were streaming. And then they came back, and we're all excited about all this. And Twerk lived in South Florida, and Gray Headed Gamer lived in South Florida, and they were talking. So it's like they wanted to have a bar citizen. And so GHG reached out to me and said, it's like, hey, Jorunn, you want to I put together a bar citizen? Like, what's that? It's like an event. We all get together. It's like, I do that. I've put together lots of events for work before. Used to coordinate big company dinners and trade shows and stuff like that. It's like, I'm all about that. And so I went on the forums, and I was looking at Bar Citizen, and that was the only place Bar Citizens had ever happened in the past. Prior to 2016, were in the meetup section, where people would post like, hey, who wants to get together? And then somebody several months later would say, it's like, oh yeah, let's get together. It's like, oh, and then months would pass in between a message.
Right.
And it wasn't a real-time communication and planning thing, because people didn't really go to the forums much. There wasn't a lot of reason.
I mean, it was, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's Star Citizen. It wasn't a game yet. It wasn't that many people.
There's almost nothing there at the time. And so it wasn't really taking off. So I went through and I collected every single name for 22 pages of forum posts. It's like 150 people. And I put one post out there with a link to the Discord. GHG set up a Florida Discord for the Bar Citizen. So I posted a link to that. It's like, hey, and this was like July, August, maybe July. Must have been like May or June, because we had like 3 months before the event, which was going to be in September. So we're going to have an event in September. We haven't found a location, but it's going to be central in like Orlando, and we're going to have a statewide Bar Citizen. Tagged everybody. We started to have all these people show up in the Discord. It's like, hey, I'd love to get together. And we had one guy who he was kind of a graphic designer. He came up with a really cool logo for us with a Big Benny's noodles cup leaning against a palm tree with watching the space shuttle take off, and Florida Bar Citizen. And so we had this cool, catchy, fun logo that we were using for the event, and it kept growing. And we thought, okay, well, maybe we'll have like 30, 40 people show up. And so Sophie Girl, who was a streamer at the time, was going to volunteer at CitizenCon in, I guess, LA that year. And she was in touch with Tyler. And so she put Tyler in touch with me. And so he started asking me for information about it. And he got all excited, and he like talked it up on Around the Verse. And that's where we got all this hype and excitement. We had 80 people show up to this event. And it was just like twice as many as we expected. And luckily, there was a big outdoor area for this restaurant. We planned on like 30 people. And so we had a few tables outside on the patio, and they had a little bit of room inside. And we just like had this massive crowd just spill over. We started at 2:00 in the afternoon. and Tyler flew out from Austin. He got there about 4 or so, and we had all these streamers there, and DJ Knight, he was amazing in the community, and GHG and Twerk and Sophie and Captain Shepard and a bunch of other people that were big streamers back then. And it's just a life-changing experience for me, because I connected with so many nerds that I haven't really had friends like that since I was a kid. And it just really inspired me tremendously that this is going to be my life going forward. And so after the event, the event went from 2:00 until 6:00. We left that venue and we went to another restaurant. We had 30 people at the next restaurant, and we were there from like 6:00 to 10:00. And then we went to somebody's hotel bar for another 2 or 3 hours. So it went from like 2:00 in the afternoon until 1:00 in the morning.
That was that's a huge event. I mean, I've heard of Bar Citizens definitely now, but back then it wasn't like that. So
there had been nothing.
So for the people who are kind of hearing about this for the first time, Bar Citizen is a thing that happens in the Star Citizen community where people get together. It doesn't have to be at a bar, but people get together, meet up in real life. And it just goes to show how close-knit the whole community is. But would you say that before this kind of happened, Bar Citizen wasn't so much a thing?
It wasn't a thing. There were a few places that had them, like Austin, where it started, at the first studio that CIG had, and they had fairly regular Bar Citizens there. But there were only a couple of other places in the world where there were occasional Bar Citizens. Right. And so it wasn't a thing. And so with that whole experience from Discord and organizing in that, a friend of mine from St. Louis who had done a couple of Bar Citizens said, it's like, hey, Jorunn, I knew him from STL Youngblood's Discord because I was in his Patreon channel. It said, you should start up an international Bar Citizen Discord and start, spread this around. And so that's what we did, and started up the International Bar Citizen Discord and got a bunch of the existing organizers and other people who were excited about it. They built the website barcitizen.sc with a map where people could submit their events with links to Discord channels. And ever since that was the end of 2016, 2017, 2018, I've helped scores of people set up regional Discords and regional Bar Citizen groups. And it's like, here's how you start a Bar Citizen. You just start a Discord if there's not one for your region or area. Find a place that's easy to get to. 90% of them are at restaurants. So even though we call it Bar Citizen, because a lot of people don't drink, there's families, and people are more about the food and the talking, and some people drink. So it's more about having a restaurant environment that can handle a group of from 6 to 12 to 20 people. Yeah. But 6 to 12 is really kind of an average turnout, and then 20 to 30 is on the high end.
Right.
And I just help people. I learn how to plan their events. I put it on Spectrum, put it on Reddit, and grow their Discords, and just be active in those communities. And there's over 60 Discords around the world, from South Africa and New Zealand, Australia, Seoul, South Korea, Singapore, Hawaii, Tokyo, and Japan, all over Europe, all over the U.S., South America. And we were on kind of hold there for a couple of years through COVID, but now CIG has gotten behind it and really resurrected it now that people are a little more comfortable going out. Still trying to keep indoor-outdoor type of events, but the excitement is huge.
The last 2 years definitely put a damper on those things, but I think the last 2 years have also been some of the biggest years of change for Star Citizen. So I'm sure the Bar Citizens going forward are going to be a different beast. So
it is absolutely going to be huge.
And it really shows the worldwide component of this game. Stim Citizen, how about you? How did you find Star Citizen and then get into this yacht club and sort of community-based focus?
Sure. So I played the whole Wing Commander series when I was, just wee high. And all the space games that are out there, obviously, Privateer and what have you, the Mass Effect series. I mean, there's so many, it's impossible to name them all, but that love of sci-fi and a little bit of fantasy as well, when the Kickstarter happened, I heard about it, I looked at it, but I'm like, I'm going to wait for it to kind of evolve. I don't really know what this Kickstarter thing is, and I want to sit back and see if it's really going to grow into something before I throw some dollars in. Because, again, I was similar to Jorunn in that the most I'd ever spent on a game was in Ultima Online. I bought a house with my brother. We went 50-50, and we're in Canada. So, buying in US dollars was a big thing at the time. US dollars was, worth quite a bit more. And so we ended up buying this house, and it was a great time. So I was kind of open to the opportunity, but wasn't quite ready for it. So when 2014 sort of came around, I was looking at the project again. I said, yeah, I want to get in. So I got the Bounty Hunter package, and I thought, this is great. I'm gonna wait for the game to kind of be ready to start playing, and so put my account in the freezer, and came back in about 2016 in June. I remember, because the Starfarer was for sale. I started looking at all of the YouTube channels of all the creators there. So obviously Grey-Headed Gamer was doing things. STL Youngblood, Law of the West had just started up. Relay was really big. Space Bros was one of my big inspirations. So a lot of great streamers are out there. Paul Shelley with the Astropub. And so I saw these guys and what they were doing, and how they're contributing to the community. And I got really excited about the game. And so, of course, I went and bought too many spaceships, and got invested.
As we do.
And then decided, right? And then decided, I want to go to a Citizen Con. And so when the 2017 Citizen Con came around, I had a ticket in the shopping cart to buy it. And I realized I had put in my phone number wrong. And so I went back in the browser in order to correct that part. And then by then it was full. They were all sold out. They sold out literally in like 30 seconds. It was absolutely amazing in 2017. So I was all bummed because I couldn't go to CitizenCon that year. Anyway, for the next year, I was not going to mess up at all. So I had everything ready to go, had it all sort of pre-filled out. And when it came on, I bought my ticket, and it was super exciting. So ended up planning, got to CitizenCon. I made some business cards for it. They're really nice and black with my symbol there, the golden planet. And Discord handle, and just kind of dove into it with both feet. And that's where I met Jorunn.
Okay.
And you were in the Jump Club.
That's right. I was in the Jump Club because I had bought an 890 Jump, which was just absolutely crazy at the time to invest in a ship like that. And
it was still a dream back then.
Yeah,
right?
Years away.
When I got into it, it was not at the base price that it sold for. It had gone up one tick, so it was a pretty big jump. Anyway, ended up going to the event and just had the most amazing time. Met Jorunn, met the rest of the guys, and just had a chance to really connect with the community for the first time on that kind of level. We had gotten to know people through the Jump Club, and it was just a really, really tight-knit band. So I said, you know what, these are great people. I want to see them in person. When I was there, I was even happier for doing it, because I got to meet kinds of people like Sigelian and obviously Xylo and Darjnator and all the guys from the Space Bros, and Moist Noodle and Lefty and Montoya
and we had like 30 people from the Jump Club, all with Jump Club shirts.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool event.
I've been meaning to say your guys' shirts pretty cool today too. The Yacht Club shirts, I like them. The little glass.
Stim came up with these.
Yeah, we absolutely love them. What we do with the community is everything that we do is absolutely as little cost as possible. We do not make any money from the community. Yacht Club is totally non-profit. Everything that comes in, we give back in the form of ship giveaways and things like our merch. We don't have any premium on top. They're made to order through the website. We worked something out. We have high enough volume for people buying them that it works out for the supplier. So everything just goes straight through. So really, really cheap prices, and it's about people getting together and also being able to recognize each other when they go to an event.
Yeah, that's really good. You can play with people on Discord and in-game all you want, but once you get to meet them face to face, it's different. You start to create lifelong friends, people that you recognize that you can talk to on a regular basis. That's not about the game. And that's really cool. I really appreciate that you guys do that for this community, because many people would agree that the community is one of the best parts of Star Citizen, if not the best part.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have people come to us all the time and say, why don't you monetize it? Why don't you turn it into a thing? And like, well, we could, but then that would take away from the spirit of what it is, why we're in it, and what we're doing. But kind of getting back to the story of, how the yacht club came together as well. Well, we were chatting at one of the major bar. Well, do we call it a Bar Citizen there? We were chatting at one of the major events.
No, it was the official pre-night Bar Citizen prior to the full day of CitizenCon. So it was the Wednesday was the CitizenCon. Tuesday night was the official Bar Citizen.
Right.
There in downtown Austin. And so we had, I think there were about 15 people from the Jump Club. We were hanging out. Jared came to hang out with us for a little bit, and some of us started talking about having a show where we would provide, because at the time, this was 2018, so we didn't have 3.0 yet. We were still at the tail end of the dark ages of 2.6.3.
Right.
Those were dark times.
Yeah.
Those were dark times. And everybody was so negative. All the content creators were just so negative.
If you're a PvPer, they loved it. The flight model was never as good.
Yeah. True. Except there wasn't anything to do other than just shoot each other around Olisar.
That's why it was so good.
We wanted to provide a different perspective for the community from high-level, longtime backers. And I got kind of going back to what the Jump Club was. Also, at the end of 2016, I bought an 890 Jump also, which is like, I went from a year before thinking $125 was a lot. The $890 was like, I didn't pay all that. I didn't pay all that in cash. I'd been putting a bid in over time that year. And so I had the exploration pack, which was $495 with the Carrack, the Terrapin, the Dragonfly, and that was going to be around for years. So I ended up melting that. I won a Terrapin in Gray Headed Gamers stream, so there's another $200. So it's like I was very close. I only put in a couple of $100 to get the 890, and I was just, it's like, this is going to be my new second life in the verse. And just kind of enjoying that kind of lifestyle. My perspective changed from being like a game to being an immersive community environment because of the Bar Citizen.
Right.
And I thought, I wonder if there's some other really nutty people that want to just have a really expensive space yacht and just kind of enjoy tootling around in the verse with friends. Like everybody else is into like hardcore careers. Yeah, it's like we just want to sip champagne in our space yachts. Like probably some interesting people. So I started up a Discord. Yeah, and that grew over time, and we've got 900 people in there now.
Wow.
And all these people, the 890 is not their only ship. They tend to be, I think the average spend in the Jump Club is Wing Commander. So they're average $10,000 spenders.
That's a lot.
And a lot of these people go back to the very beginning. So it's an interesting, very small segment of the community where they're super high-level backers. They're really passionate about the game. They believe in the long-term vision, not so much the day-to-day game. A lot of them may not even play a whole lot. But coming from the Jump Club, it's a very positive group looking forward at the future universe that we're all going to be in and that kind of lifestyle. And so we wanted to provide that perspective. It's like, we're just laid back, fun people. We like the community and we believe in the project, and we want to cover the news and events every week and hang out with the community and look at the long-term greatness of this game. And
I like that. I like that what you did, it started out in a time when really the community was still forming. It was still kind of finding its spirit. And I'd like to move on to actually talk a little bit more about that. That's kind of the main thing I want to touch on with this whole show, and probably what we're going to spend most of the time on, but really understanding the way the community was back then and how it's so much different now, because that is, it's quite the change. So I wanted to focus a lot today on how the community has changed from, back when the Yacht Club was forming, things like 3.0 were coming out, the game was very much, it didn't really realize, you didn't realize where we were going. You know, it was so up in the air, to now there's kind of a more defined game. It's growing in a very clear direction, and they've got some pretty good midterm goals. What are some of the big things that you guys have noticed changed in the community as it's grown with that?
Well, when we met at CitizenCon in 2018, we ended up sort of chatting away, and there's a few conversations about, hey, we'd like to start up a podcast, and we were talking about YouTube videos and what we would do, and sort of putting something together, and eventually the Yacht Club was born. To kind of summarize how that came together. And when we first started, to kind of give you an idea of the past and sort of where the community was there, a lot of the Yacht Club came from the 890 Jump Club. A lot of it was born out of that to begin with. So we had a sort of a big sort of seed come in, and you can see sort of where the name for the Yacht Club comes in, where we've got the, it's about your yachts, right? And because of that, there was this assumption that, you had to have an 890, or you had to have, origin ships, or be an origin lover in order to really appreciate the Yacht Club. But really, the essence of the Yacht Club is any ship you have is your yacht, right? If it's an Aurora, if it's an El Camino, Asp Camino, whatever you have, that is your yacht. Pull it up at the end of the day. You've been doing missions, you've been doing whatever you've been doing, calling cargo, etc. You come to the Yacht Club at the end, park your ship, check your guns down, and then drinks up. So if you're a pirate, if you're a trader, if you're a explorer, whatever it is that you do, at the end of the day, it's about being social, having a great time, having a few drinks and hanging out with friends, and really connecting with like-minded people. So it's non-judgmental. It's about hanging out, having a great time. And over the time since then, it's really evolved quite a bit. It started off with the spirit of what it is, and through that time, I mean, the Star Citizen community has a huge spectrum of people, right? You've got those that are just dipping their toes in, that are extremely confident and well spoken, successful in their careers, really collected people. And then you've got others that come in and they're socially, they haven't been overly successful in life, or they've had challenges in what they're doing. There may be some connection to mental diagnoses. There may be other things. And through the Yacht Club, they've been able to find acceptance around who they are, because we're all connected about a single focus. We're connected about games. We're connected about this one project. And so you can find a common ground, and then you can seek to understand those people that are around you. And so, like Jorunn was saying at the beginning, this is one of the first times he's had since his childhood that he found friends that were like-minded, that were geeks, that could enjoy time together. And so Yacht Club gave us that connection. It's given that to a lot of people. And so the platform of what Yacht Club is has evolved as we've seen different communities come in and be proud of what it is that they do, and who they are, and the fiber of their being, right? And so anything from whatever challenges you have in life to different sexual orientations or gender positioning. I'm totally uneducated in this stuff, so forgive me if I say it improperly. But you're accepted, and you're awesome.
I think what you're trying to say is that it's a very big tent community.
Yeah.
And there's so many people from such a broad background, but they're all drawn together for this project that everybody dreams about. And it's like you said, it has evolved tremendously. Where back in 2000, we started at the beginning of 2019, after 2018 CitizenCon, and we were only just getting the first moons, and then we got 3.0 in early 2019, and the community evolved from being
2018, I believe.
2019.
3.0?
Yeah, because 3.0 was announced in Austin in
2018.
at the end of 2018, so Octoberish, and so that came out at the end of 2018. That's kind of the only way I can keep track of time is like before and after CitizenCon 2018.
Before and after cons.
And yeah, it seems like it should be further back than that, but 2018 was the end of 2.6.3, and the end of 2018 we got 3.0 for the Christmas patch, I think. So we got the moons, and then Hurston came into the beginning of 2019, and the community started to really get excited because before we only had space, and then we got the first moons, and that kind of blew people away, and then we got the planets, and then the first planet of Hurston, and that really blew people away. And we'd seen the sandworm and Lyria and the first planet tech, and back in those early days, CIG used to show like things that we may not see for a long time.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that's kind of changed. But the community, I think the community really started to grow and be reinvigorated at that time. And people were coming back after that long drought of 2.6.3, where we didn't get any new content. And some people in the community that have been waiting here for a very, very long time from the beginning, they see the length of time they've been waiting, and especially now how much longer they really realize it's going to be before we realize that big dream of the future universe. But what we have now is so exciting. But there's so many sides of the community, but everybody can kind of come together and talk about what they're excited about, of what they want in the distant future, what they have now, but then also share all these other things that this project has brought together, from Star Wars, Star Trek, The Expanse, like sci-fi and fantasy, and every different topic and subject and show and book and Dungeons and Dragons, Game of Thrones, like all these nerdy subjects that a lot of us don't connect with other people in real life around. We've got our jobs and we go through our real world lives, but our passions are these nerdy things.
Yeah.
And Star Citizen brings us together around this project. But now also with Bar Citizen and with all these communities that have grown up, you've got your community growing up and the other streamers, and there's thousands of Discords out there around so many different things, every possible niche Discord. I even started a Star Citizen bread nerds Discord. Talk about niche. So it's like we had all these people in the yacht club and I've run around in other communities that we got into baking bread through the last couple of years.
Some people get dogs during the pandemic. No, we started up a bread.
We started
bread Discord.
We started baking, and
Space bread.
There's so many things that bring people together, and it's just it's a building excitement. And like you said before when we were starting, I don't know if it was before the show started, but those people that it's never going to come out, 90 days tops. So those old tropes that we used to hear all the time in 2019 started to slow down in 2020, and the last 2 years, and you almost hear none of that. It's all excitement because we've got so much to do.
They switched from it will never come out to it's taking too long to come out.
Yeah, all that other stuff down the road.
Right.
And of course, Squadron 42, and that's the one thing that's like, it's that ever moving release date of, so this is a single player AAA game. It's going to come out in
someday,
2014, 2016. They're working on it. They're making good progress.
And CIG also made a change towards quality of life for the existing players. They really heard the community, and they said, you know what? They're probably seeing a bunch of abandonment by the existing community, by the existing backers. Said, look, let's keep these people. They're great evangelists. They are our marketing plan. And so, they kind of moved and shifted a little bit towards having more quality of life updates. And what that does is two factors. The first thing is you don't see these huge milestone goals being worked on, right? You don't see, we talk about, the technology that's in the background. So the persistence that we're still waiting for, the server meshing, while we're waiting for those kinds of things, we're seeing that the quality of life updates are they're smaller. They're smaller impact, but they add up to such a great improvement to the game. So there's been a huge change and a focus on improving that, where we are at from a quality side as well as the. So what I'm trying to get to is we're not seeing those massive updates. We're seeing so it's hard to articulate
The real long-term stuff.
No,
yeah, so that's why it's it feels like we're waiting, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you. It's that's actually something that I wanted to talk about, because back in this time period in 2018, 2019, the community, in my opinion, the way that I view it was I would hop into a Reddit thread that might say something like, oh boy, can't wait to do some farming on the Endeavor, right? And everybody who was there who saw that would be like, the Endeavor, when is that going to come out? Like, what about the science module? Oh my gosh, such a cool ship. MISC Industrial, right? Like, people were in the know because it was small, it was focused, it was all Star Citizen. But at this point, now, is the way I see it, if you go onto Reddit and you post a picture of the Endeavor, people be like, what ship is that? Wait, who's MISC? Wait, there's farming in this game? And you see this huge expansion of people who don't actually know what's happening with Star Citizen or what's the goal is. And I think you kind of touched on this earlier, Stim. I forgot what you had said, but you had kind of elaborated on the idea that more and more people are coming into the game, and it's kind of it's expanding in interest in different types of interests. So you get like YouTubers like Jack Frags coming in, who's very FPS based. You get streamers like Summit1G who plays anything and doesn't actually really care that much, but is coming to check it out. And that brings in all these new people to dilute the player base. Do you think that that's part of why they're now pushing? I mean, you said it yourself, they responded to some of this criticism. Do you think a lot of it is the new players that have come in and have been like, what the heck is going on? And CIG is like, okay, we need to make this a game for them.
Yeah, there's been a huge change towards the new players. I remember, and Jorunn, you might want to help me out here. I think it was probably about 7 months ago. I remember Chris Roberts in a post even said to the old backers, you know what, like, if you're getting salty, if you're getting frustrated with the development, you don't have to put any more money into the game. Good. We're evolving. We've got new players coming in all the time.
That was a year and a half ago.
Okay. See how time flies. Pandemic. So,
the first chairman's letter.
Right. So they're focusing on that growth and expansion, and with new streamers coming in that have almost a jump in a factor, a degree of a full step, 10 times what most YouTubers have in Star Citizen, coming in to see the game from other games. We're attracting a lot more, and so that quality of life is a big focus on that, I think.
Yeah. Do you think that we're developing a problem, something that seemed to kind of rear its head with the reintroduction of Death of a Spaceman last year? Do you think we're starting to see a problem that could expand into something bigger as new players come in and don't understand some of the deeper and long-term goals of this game? Things like the permadeath, or like the physicalized inventories, things like the time it takes to travel these large distances, way bigger than Stanton. Do you think that something needs to happen for the community to be educated on this now so it's not a problem later? Or do you think CIG will just have to figure this out when those features come?
That's a good question. Let me say one thing, if you don't mind, Jorunn. The like, when you look at we had this Death of a Spaceman document come through, and so the backers that have been around for a long time, they really understand, that there's going to be this hardcore kind of mode to it with some like 9 lives or however you want to look at it. As the new backers come in that are used to probably more arcade style games or more esports style games, you're starting to see a concept of them saying, well, you know what, I just die, I respawn. I can just come in and get it. So I can't answer the question of whether or not CIG needs to do more right now, or when the timing is, but there definitely has to be an evolution as new gamers come in to understand that, it's a lot more strategic gameplay. It's a lot more involvement in your life. But I think that, and probably Jorunn, this might be where you were gonna step into, is if you look at the fidelity, right? And we joke about this all the time. Look at, right? Everything that you do in Star Citizen, like you need to eat. There's a bit of that survival aspect. All of these sort of specs from different games that tend to be more involved are things that will naturally sort of cater towards people being a little bit more conscious about their survival. Does that resonate with you, Jorunn?
Yeah, I think that that's a big challenge that we as content creators have, and CIG is wrestling with. And I actually asked Jared specifically during the virtual bar citizen a couple of weeks ago. It was the Saturday after Invictus, and we had 100 people in the virtual bar citizen on Zoom, and Jared was there. And I asked him specifically, why don't you guys ever talk about the future universe anymore? Like, nobody coming in now has any clue where we're going with this. People that are coming in by the droves. We had 120,000 new accounts for Invictus over 12
Yeah,
days.
that's crazy.
It's just so many people. And you interviewed Ali recently. I jumped into his Discord several weeks ago, and just every single day there's brand new people coming in. They see it. They see somebody playing. It looks like fun. It looks great. It's like, hey, I just got the game today. And these people come in that they don't have any idea that this isn't really it, and they're just, okay, well, we've got the Stanton system and there's some other game loops and they're polishing it, but they think that we're close to being done, and we're still very, and I argue with people about this all the time. It's like, we're still very early alpha, and we're finishing the foundations of this project so that they can really grow into what it will be, but we're years away. And Jared said that they did make a conscious choice to really focus on what's happening now and what's happening on the roadmap timeline. Because when they talk about things that are further away, too many people in the community are just constantly complaining. And these are not his words. I'm paraphrasing.
Mhm.
People are always talking about we never get there. It's like the sandworm I mentioned earlier. It's like all the stuff that's way down the road that we will see, the Endeavor, the Polaris,
I mean, yeah,
the
all
Idris,
kinds
the
of
Javelin.
things, even the
Yeah,
things that we're
and
getting now that,
one of the number one things that I ask new players that I run across is, have you seen the 3D star map? And none of them have any idea what that is. And it's like, go check out the star map. And they're blown away. It's like, this is what they plan to build? It's like, yeah, and that's going to take 20 or 30 years.
yeah.
But even getting 5 to 10 systems in the next several years is going to be just unrecognizable from what we have now. And like you're saying with Death of a Spaceman, and we're seeing the medical gameplay changing, cargo gameplay is going to change tremendously. So many things are going to change just radically. I am like a broken record telling people, it's like everything that you see now and everything that you do now is completely and utterly placeholder. And it is only hinting at what we're going to have in several years. It's
Is
going
that
to be a completely different universe.
is this dangerous for see, I mean, we have,
It's
look at the people
what isn't
who
dangerous
well, no,
for
I
them.
just see the reaction to
Mhm.
like the inventory changes.
Mhm.
Some people are already saying that having to go into the ship now. I know I don't want to group everybody up because I know there's a group. I'm one of them who would say what we're doing in inventory is too clumsy for what it is, right? Like there should be stacking. You should be able to easily send things to your ship when you buy them, which we can now do. There are quality of life improvements for the inventory that we could have, but there's also a group of people who look at the way that you have to put your weapon into your ship and then put your weapon, then take your ship to another station and then move it from the ship to the station and all this stuff and be like, this is too much. But they don't even know that at some
How
point they're
much
going to have to
more?
go to the lockers on their ships, and they're going to have to
Right.
go and put their suits away in these carriers. And you're like, this honestly, if let's say there are 500,000 people who play the game right now, and 200,000 more people join before that day happens, there's a chance that those 200,000 people will be going up against those 500,000 to say, no, this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. This isn't how the game should be, just because they weren't educated. And I worry about the schisms that can create in the community.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a never-ending challenge for CIG to not to balance the future and the now,
Right.
and the spokesperson every single week we see Jared, except for the 3 weeks he takes off every quarter, which is always annoying to us as content creators. Stop taking time off.
Jared, you can't take any breaks.
Yeah.
We need you.
Never take time
Always
off.
work.
But I think, and I've been watching him for 6 years, and he has really evolved and matured and has a very, very consistent message that I think a lot of older backers miss, because it's like you hear the same thing over and over again. It doesn't really register, like it's all those ads on web pages. We've just got blinders on. But he is very, very consistent in his messaging that all these things are early work in progress. That the tier 0 inventory system, it's like, yeah, it is clunky AF. I mean, it is a pain in the ass. I just moved 500 items from New Babbage into my C2 and then back out into Tressler to migrate up there. And it's like, if I have to character reset, I'm going to kill myself.
And we have to remember as well, going from like the back end being updated to the design. So it's a back end, front end, all the different
UI.
features and the UI. Yeah, exactly. Right. So there's all of these different changes that sort of step ahead and then catch up. And because they're trying to work on a game that's playable now as well. They're also trying to put something in that works now. If they didn't have to deal with that, they could just create what's going to be the end vision and then update it, and then just update it when changes happen. So as we see things develop, I think the picture is going to become more clear as to what the end vision is. Even though we have them in design documents and we get updates, from Jared and from the rest of the team, we don't fully understand what the end vision is in a lot of ways.
Well, only the old backers that have been watching it for years and years.
But I would argue that things have changed a little bit as well, right? We got 3.0, we got planets that changed everything in a massive way. So the old backers have a good lens into it, but I don't think we have the full lens. And you might even argue that CIG doesn't know the exact end bit. But what we can have confidence in is that what we can have confidence in is as it evolves, they will move towards best practice, and they're on the leading edge of best practice. And so when we have those 200,000, players that come in later, they will challenge, but I think be further down and a little bit more evolved towards the end vision as we get there. And so I don't think we need to worry too much about how much we're the new backers fight the old backers on how that works.
Right.
Plus, from a community that is this connected, if we are able to maintain the new backers coming in and bringing them into the fold of the Discord communities, then they become old backers. At least they become connected. And so they start to see what those visions are. And we can have education back and forth between what we want to see going forward that the new backers bring in for a new perspective to how it's been and how it's always been, kind of like the old new situation. So we kind of find that balance as we go forward. So I'm not too worried about how it's going to evolve, but it will be interesting to see.
It is definitely, that's a good point. It's us. It's on us as a community to, and that's why we have to stress that the players who come in here, when they learn about this game, they're learning the actual things that will happen. One of the things that I think I probably annoy people with, that I always get all huff puff about, is that people call the quantum economy system, or the simulation, they called it quanta, whereas quanta is a segment of that system. And I try to correct that because it's just like that. If we have 200,000 people coming in a week and every one of those people hears a system called quanta, and they start teaching everybody else is called quanta, by the time this system becomes a real thing in the game that people are always referring to, and CIG says something about quantum, suddenly everybody's on the wrong, the wrong story. And so it's on us to make sure that we're actually sharing the correct information about this game with the people who are coming into it, because that's very important.
Community misinformation is one of the biggest cancers in this project. And actually, Jared kind of lamented that's one of his biggest pet peeves, is that so many people are putting out bad information, and it detracts from what they're trying to put out. And I think a lot of the content community is so focused on the now that there's not very many people that talk about, okay, well, this is this microcosm of what we're going to have in the future, and this is how it fits into it on this long road, like the inventory in 3.18 with the cargo refactor. And persistence is going to change everything. What we have now, it's going to be so much more immersive, so much more, I hate to say cumbersome, like you're saying, it's like the inventory system is going to get more cumbersome in some ways, but I do have faith that CIG has stated, and they've consistently demonstrated, that they will go for realism and scale it back for fun. And they haven't mentioned that much lately, but it's important for all of us to remember that that's their long-term goal, and all these little changes, that, like hover mode, it may be horrific, but if it's bad, they'll change.
Yep. And they did.
Hover mode is dead. Long live hover mode.
It will be back.
And the sweet isn't so sweet without the bitter. We got to remember that, right? So with the persistence coming in, and things are harder because we've got to actually deal with everything that's on us, as opposed to just having this, bag of holding that's on our backs. It's still going to make the game much better as we go along. The other thing I wanted to comment on very quickly is, even though things are evolving so much right now, and we have this huge lens into the back end of the game, like quanta versus quantum, exactly how it all works. When you look at those 200,000 players that you're talking about, coming in much further down the road, eventually they're not going to even know what quanta or quantum was, right? Because once the game is launched, and let's not get into the debate about it, but once it's evolved a few years down the road, a great game is just seamless. People don't understand what's going on in the back end. We've had huge transparency into this game because of the way that Star Citizen has been so open to the community for so long, and had their hard knocks for it. That we become armchair captains. We sit there and we're judging and we're involved. Players further down the road that are just coming into the game are not going to have any exposure to that, and they'll only learn it by jumping into the community to talk about it.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's the time when hopefully the community is not giving them the wrong info.
Right. I had another thought on both of y'all's comments there. It spurred another connection, and with the death of a spaceman, Chris referred specifically to Elder Scrolls. And I think it's no, not Elder Scrolls, Dark Souls.
Dark Souls.
But Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really play any of them. But like right now with Elden Ring, we see how that's come out to become such a hugely successful game, and it is miserably hard, and it is nothing I would ever touch, because it just looks miserable. From it just punishingly, but everybody who plays it and loves it, everybody I talk to, like, it is so hard, but you feel this tremendous sense of accomplishment when you achieve something. And Chris said that that's what he wants us to feel, is a sense of accomplishment when you've ground out and earned enough UEC to buy a new spaceship and upgrade your spaceship. No, that's a tremendous sense of accomplishment, or beating, a dread pirate boss, Roberts, these sorts of things. And one of the experiences I had last weekend that made me rage quit was I was trying to beat the epic boss of making a 2 SCU box. For an hour and a half. I was blowing up. I was loading my Novikovs into my Pisces. I was going out and grabbing it in the carrot, got it back in there. So I had two SCU boxes, one SCU box, and a Pisces. Hour and a half. It's like, man, that's great. It's like I felt this sense of accomplishment, little small stupid thing that we just do, kind of like the old Big Benny's challenge. We're making our own fun. Um, and then I went down to get an Ursa, and the ship despawned, and I lost all that. And it's a silly anecdote, but the future universe is going to have that sense of like you really have to plan for whatever it is that you're going to do. If you're going to take a ship into Pyro and go mining, and you have to think about no resources, no refueling, all these things. Who are you going to call when you need fuel? If you get attacked
Ghostbusters.
by pirates. Yeah, there's so many of
All-time
these
energy.
things that people will have to plan for, and we're not used to that. And we're just starting to get used to planning a little bit. Okay, if I'm going to go on a bunker mission, it's like I need to have this, this, and this. If I'm going to leave port, I need to have undersuits, armors, weapons, food, drink, ammunition. I always forget ammo. It's like I'll load up 5
yeah.
FS9s, I'll load up 3 sets of undersuits, 3 sets of armor, and food and drink, and I'm going. It's like I didn't buy any ammo.
Yeah.
Or didn't bring. It's like, and I've got like
it, yeah.
5,000 magazines.
But that's why planning is the main game loop in Star Citizen.
Yeah,
When it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we finish up, we got to wrap up here shortly. I do want to touch on, I think this is a really important topic. One we should have probably put more time towards, but I also want to look at how has it's kind of a buzzword, but let's go with it. How has the toxicity of the community changed as it's grown and expanded, especially in this last year? Because this is a community that, oh my gosh, I really hope that it can hang on to what makes it special, because it's so kind. It's still very kind, very helpful. Everybody is just, like you said, we're all just nerds looking to try and get as many people excited about a space game as possible. And that's always reigned true. But as we know, the gaming community at large is not as subtle as the rest of the world. A lot of other groups that you might be a part of. Has that started to leak over into the community? Have you noticed? And is there any pushback, or what do you hear? What do you hear talked about?
I don't think it's gotten really strong. We tend to see it more during the free flies when you get a bunch of people that come in and they just want to make a mess of things and pad ram people and grief a bit. There's going to be that concern depending on what kind of game Star Citizen is, and I think because of the kind of game that it is going to be, and I hate calling it a game, but the game aspects of it, it's not something where you can just hop in and be a fast move and shoot, killing people.
Right.
It's not that kind of PUBG thing. If you're going to do something in Star Citizen, it takes time, it takes planning, it takes patience, and it takes a lot to be able to do something. And right now, there are no consequences to griefing. Prison is stupid. It's more of a punishment to normal players that stub their toe and get a crime stat. But in the future, it's probably going to be one of their biggest challenges, I think. The tech, and they'll get there. They'll get Squadron 42 out. They'll get server meshing out. Balancing the reputation and crime stat system so that there are repercussions for people who do bad things. It's going to be one of their most difficult things, but I think that's going to be super critical. And another thing that new players aren't aware of, because everybody's in the same small play space. Your pirates, your PvPers, your griefers, your Care Bears, and after an incident many years ago when I became more enlightened and educated, I started calling myself the leader of Care Bearers from the Jump Club because they're mostly people that are not into combat sort of stuff. They do it on the side, but in telling them that you have to be aware of where you are and your risk assessment. And Stanton is not a safe system. There's a little bit of safety, or will be. Pyro is not going to have any law. It's going to be tremendously unsafe. And if you're running a cargo ship full of cargo into Jumptown and you get murdered, don't complain because you're doing something stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've had people do that where it's like I had whatever it was that people used to trade back then. I had a whole Caterpillar full of that and I got blown up. It's like, you're going to Jumptown. But in the future, we'll have places like Terra, and there's been a couple of devs, and Jared kind of reiterated on the Bar Citizen that it's going to be a super safe system. It is going to be extremely well patrolled, and it's going to be very difficult for the more combat oriented griefy and pirates and all those sorts of players across the spectrum to get in there and harass people. So we'll be able to spread out more, and there'll be other kinds of gameplay, but nobody right now has that visibility in the future.
I can't imagine going to another star system and possibly getting scanned more than Hurston Security. That should be the most secure place in the universe, because they never stop. I won't even be in the ship, and they're like, "Stop your ship! We're gonna scan you."
And you're going too fast, and you can't slow down.
I think what's going to happen is we're eventually going to get to the place where there's like a tutorial kind of starter area. This is something that happens in every single player game, and it's something that in a lot of MMOs you end up having a starter zone. Like in WoW, you have this huge starter zone that you learn to play the game. You learn how to hunt and do what you have, and just taking off your ship, just the survival mechanics. There's all these tutorial type aspects that they need to have to kind of train you up over, I don't know, an hour or two as you go through a bit of a tutorial. This is something that EVE Online had a kind of like a starting area depending upon what race you spawned in as.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely room to help bring the newer player into that aspect of, this is not an arcade game. I don't come in and start pad ramming. Once you go through a tutorial like that, you're more invested. You're like, oh, okay, I want to survive. This is how I know how to do things. So I don't think people are going to go through the tutorial to all of a sudden start pad ramming, PO, but they might, but there's that investment in it. The other thing is getting back to that community side of it. If we do our jobs right, we'll end up kind of bringing people in, and so kind of getting back to what Yacht Club does, we see ourselves a bit as a sorting hat, of the Star Citizen version of Harry Potter. Come to us, we'll help you find out where your tribe is, because we've got people from all discords in Yacht Club. It's kind of that central point of
We've got a couple of pirates.
We do. We do. We don't have as many pirates, but we have them, and we've got really prominent pirates. So if piracy is your thing, jump in the Discord, find out who those people are, and say, "Hey, I want to come and play with you." And then they come and jump in and do that. So the community has a responsibility to some degree. Even it's well, we don't have a responsibility, but we have the ability to help evolve the game the way we want to see it. Right, despite whatever CIG's plans are.
And I think that's mainly what I was getting at with that question, is that really it comes down to the community continuing to foster that environment. And we've done a great job up until now. And I think we will continue to do a good job. But I do really hope and would like to find ways to emphasize to the community that it's on us. We can watch as people come in here, become toxic, use be discriminative, be rude, just generally bring negative energy into the community, and we can say, oh, we don't like that, those people are stupid, and block them, or we could shut it down, and show the rest of the community, hey, as a group in Star Citizen, we're just not about this. We want to make sure that we're not just standing by and letting it kind of seep in. We want to actively push it out, because this is a game that's going to require you to be involved with other people. You're going to have to get help from other people. And there are plenty of people in the world who already are in a position where they're not comfortable talking to others. And if you're forced to coordinate with others in this game, and you don't know if you're going to talk to somebody who's going to hate you for who you are, or just simply leave you in the dust because you got frustrated too quickly, you're never going to play the game. The game's never going to grow. So I want to keep trying to push that message as much as possible, because that kind of stuff I just don't want to see in this game, and I've seen it a little bit in the recent past.
Well, and that's one of the things why I'm so passionate about Bar Citizen. When people are just online, it's the internet anonymity, and they don't know each other. But when you start meeting people in real life that you play with, it humanizes other
Yeah.
Star Citizens.
Yeah, definitely.
And you realize, like, these are people like me, and they may have different interests. You know, that they may want to be a pirate, they may want to do something else, but they're all just they love this project, they love Star Trek, they love Star Wars, and all these other things. And I think as Bar Citizen really grows and people make more real world connections, I think that that's going to help kind of ground things. And I think it's really unique to the Star Citizen community, and very happy that CIG is getting behind it full force.
Yeah.
And I think as the project grows, as the community grows, I think it's going to be really integral to helping maintain that humanity and good nature. It's the old Star Trek philosophy, you know, the brighter, happier, more positive future. Realistic or not, we can still dream to strive for that.
Yeah.
There's also, when we talk about the reputation system, there was some mentioning early on where they were talking about how, you know, you might only get into a certain bar based upon your reputation, or you might only get invites based upon your reputation. If the reputation system is done, I won't say correctly, but if it goes deep enough, it may help gatekeep people's behavior, right? And just using pad ramming as an example, that's something that's easily gatekept by reputation. But there could also, but that toxicity is something that may as well be sort of filtered out. And if we look at, you know, not just the community, but if we look at the way that the game is designed, it may not appeal to those that are in esports. I mean, esports is the most toxic of all of them. Like League of Legends, Rocket League, all of those, they are the most toxic communities because it's all about putting down the other person, because it's actually a strategy to win the game, is to get them emotionally flustered so they can't play anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So there's actually
I remember that in my Halo 2 days.
right?
That was miserable.
So, you know, so there's that effect. There's also the effect of, you know, like you're driving your car and the other person's in another car. Well, on a computer, they're somewhere else. They're just an amorphous individual. They might as well be an NPC, right? But they're manipulable. So there's a whole bunch of factors that lead towards toxicity that I don't think Star Citizen's going to have as much of an issue. That being said, it's all up to us, just like you said before, to work on that. And then things like the reputation system will help improve on as well. So we'll see how it goes.
Yep. Well, I'm hoping for the best, and I'm expecting the best too. This is a great group of people. But both of you, I'd like to, we're a little over today, and I know you got things to do. We got some popular yacht club folks here, but I want to tell you both, thank you so much for coming in and joining me for today's show, talking a little bit about the community. We didn't get to talk too much about in-game gameplay stuff, but I really enjoyed what both of you had to say about this subject. I would like to tell everybody who's listening, whether you're listening on our audio platforms in the ad-free podcast or you're on YouTube, we will have all the links for these two down below so you can check out their groups, the content they create and what they're doing. But both of you, if you wouldn't mind just telling people how they can find you and kind of what they should be looking for when they come to find you.
Go ahead, Jay.
Well, we're both in the Yacht Club Discord, Yacht Club BC on Twitch, Yacht Club BC, I think on YouTube probably.
Yeah, but we don't really post much to YouTube anymore.
We probably need to do more of that. I think it's Yacht Club BC on Twitter, and I'm Jorunn SC on Twitter, and Jorunn SC I think on or Star Citizen Jorunn on YouTube. I have done a little bit of YouTube. Need to do more of that. It's one of those many things on the list to do. Great Discord community for welcoming anybody. Doesn't matter what group or org you're in. It's just a really great place to hang out and meet really fun, happy, positive people.
Great people.
And then the same for me when it comes to the Yacht Club. That's basically where it is that I live in Star Citizen. I do have Twitter, which is Stim Citizen on Twitter, and I do have a YouTube channel, but I don't post anything to it. Just in case I decide to, it's there. The property is squatted by the rightful owner, right? It's all in the branding play. Yep. But yeah, otherwise just come into the Discord. Ping. I'm not always hanging out there, so if you want to chat to me personally, DM me or at me in the chat, and I'll make sure I jump in and say hi. otherwise, Wednesday nights, 7 Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Come and join us. We hang out every week, chat about what's happened from CIG, what the updates are. We've got some gameplay. Jorunn leads people on Saturdays. We've got another community member by the name of Mintake that kind of looks after the EU time zone, so it's more in the mornings. We have affiliates like Sigelian, who every morning from 7 to 10 PST or 10 to 1 Eastern runs cargo. So there's always a way to sort of connect to the yacht club. And again, we're that sorting hat, so we can help you sort of find your tribe. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's me. It's how to find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you both again so much for being here, and thanks to everybody who
Thanks
is
for having us
watching
on.
or listening. Like I said, supporters who are here live, all supporters of the podcast get to come live, listen to the group live, and also ask questions to the guests after the show. So if you are interested in that, consider supporting us on Patreon or on YouTube. But other than that, I'd like to once again and finally thank everybody for coming to episode 55 of the Launch Sequence podcast. I've been your host, Space Tomato, and Jorunn Stim. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks
We'll
so much.
see you next week at episode 56. Have a wonderful week, everybody.